Recording. Awesome. Okay. And so, folks, let me explain to you why I'm so excited to be here this evening. I realized today, Samantha and I went to a party, and I was actually throwing a frisbee with our little boy Bosco. And while throwing the frisbee with Bosco, I suddenly realized why it is that this feels so good to me, why it feels so right. And it is because I now recognize that I have actually been preparing for this moment since 1982. That is how long been preparing for this specific set of facts that we delivered to you. My name is Randy Schrader, and I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. We're here today to learn about leveraging AI. That Lev AI, that's the name of our company. The concept is learning how to leverage artificial intelligence to make that technology available to the masses of the world a little bit more quickly than it might otherwise be available. I referenced that I've been preparing for this moment since 1982. How could that be? Well, it's because in 1982, and I'm setting my stopwatch here so I don't talk too long. It's because in 1982, I was in a friend's home. His name was Andy K. And Andy K was the founder of a company called K-Pro Computers. And that day in 1982, Andy pointed to a box on his desk and he said, Randy, the day will come when every desk in the world has one of these on it. Andy could see the future and I could not. Andy launched a company that wound up being one of the foundational companies. Now, he lost the fight, and ultimately Apple became what he hoped K-Pro would be. But Andy was different than me. He could see the future. He could see the day when everyone would be required by society's adoption, by widespread societal adoption. Each of us as individuals had to adopt. Didn't know it, but now I know. I've been preparing for this moment since then. A couple of years later, I was ill prepared for another moment. I remember as I heard that fax sound coming through my dial up modem, as I sat and I waited for a site to open the World Wide Web. Absolutely no way did I have the vision to see that just as the entire world was compelled to adopt computerization, the entire world was compelled to adopt online business. And I simply used a computer. I just used the internet. I did not become a catalyst to causing others to use a computer. I did not become a catalyst to causing others to use the internet. In other words, I participated in the flow, but I did not cause the flow. I've been preparing for this moment since then. I hope you have too, because now, just as computerization was thrust upon society, just as online business was thrust upon society, artificial intelligence is now being thrust upon society. We all will be compelled to use. The only question is, will we become a conduit to other people's use? Those who become a conduit to other people's use will have financial rewards that almost defy description. The future in your hands is accessible artificial intelligence for the masses. Now, I introduced my son, Blake. Blake is the operational manager of this company. He is the president of the company. He operates, however, under the overarching umbrella of a gentleman named Terry LaCour. When everyone gets involved with a new technology or a rapidly developing and advancing technology, or when one gets involved with a new entity of any kind, there's, of course, the thrill of opportunity that goes along with that. There's also the potential fear of risk. Some startup ventures don't get off the ground floor. Here, we mitigate that risk. Why? Because Lev AI, that's the company, Lev AI, the concept is leveraging artificial intelligence to make it accessible to ordinary, everyday people, in addition to having a sophisticated enough offering to appeal to the most sophisticated professional marketer. Well, Terry owns companies, he finances them, he provides the support needed for them to go through incubation, to become birthed, and to become large and successful. But he doesn't manage them. He hires best available to manage. And I'm so grateful that Mr. LaCour chose to hire my son Blake to become the president of the operational driving factor, driving force of this company. Blake is an attorney. He spent his life growing at the home of an entrepreneur. That's me. He understands the sacrifices that one must make, and he honors those sacrifices. Blake understands the complexities of global business, has lived in Israel, where he managed a direct selling company, has lived in Portugal, where he managed a direct selling company, has been responsible for more than $500 million in annual sales in his past career experience, and was also the CEO of a company called Medical Marijuana Incorporated at a time when the end of the prohibition of cannabis was one of the most exciting, but also complicated, confusing, and risk laden situations in our society. Blake recently completed his non-compete agreement, making himself eligible to guide this company into what I believe will be an incredible future. And so we eliminate the risks of an early demise. How? Because we operate under the ecosystem of Mr. LaCour, and we eliminate the risks of simply not knowing how to navigate these waters because Blake has navigated them multiple times before. And so now we get to the heart of the matter. I find this to be one of the most remarkable statements I've ever heard, particularly given the person who made the statement. This is not just somebody on a park bench somewhere. This is Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. Without question, one of the most influential people in the world of business and tech. And what he says is fascinating. AI is more profound than fire or electricity or anything we've done in the past. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. AI, artificial intelligence, is more profound than fire or electricity or anything we've done in the past. This from one of the most brilliant, influential men in the world. What does that say to you? What it says to me is look back over your shoulder, whatever your greatest successes have been up until now, no matter how great, those successes have been made possible by then existing technology. Those successes have been made possible by then existing knowledge. Now we have access to artificial intelligence, which, according to Sundar Pichai, is more profound than anything which made possible our past successes. Therefore, our future successes can be dramatically greater, not modestly greater, dramatically greater. Now, if these statements were being made by anyone other than some of the most influential scientific and business minds in the world, I think people would roll their eyes. But here we see the deepest mind at DeepMind, Demis Hassabis, who states the difference here with artificial intelligence is it's going to be 10 times bigger than the Industrial Revolution and maybe 10 times faster. Some of these statements being made they're a little hard to wrap your arms around, aren't they? They're hard for me to wrap my arms around. But I believe that it is requisite of me to accept what these people are saying. They are brilliant. They have backgrounds that qualify them to make these statements. The difference here with AI is it's going to be 10 times bigger than the Industrial Revolution and maybe 10 times faster. Once again, I now am completely convinced that I have been preparing for this moment, though I knew not that for which I was preparing. I've been preparing from this moment since Andy Kay said, Randy, there's going to be a computer on every desk. And I used it, but I failed to be a conduit to other people's use. Now we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to become a conduit to other people's use in something as powerful, more powerful, we learn here, than the Industrial Revolution. My gosh, there is no limitation to what can be accomplished. Artificial intelligence should not be feared. It should be harnessed. It should be leveraged to your benefit and the benefit of people in your world. Now, here it states that 61% of professional marketers use AI already. Now, that's an overstated figure because 61%, that means that the process of adoption is a long ways down the road. No, this is reflective of professional marketers who are using a mixed bag of goods. Only about 4% of the global population, regular people, have begun using AI. But let's talk here for a moment about these self-described professional marketers. What percentage of them do you suppose use a computer? 100%. That's the percent who will use AI. What percentage of these professional marketers do you suppose use the internet? 100%. And that's the percentage who will use AI. And now let's not just talk about these professional marketers. Let's talk about normal, everyday people. What percent of middle-aged, middle school children around the world use a computer periodically? What percent of middle school children around the world use the internet? Isn't it so close to 100% that the other percent doesn't even need to be measured? And today it's 3 or 4%. This represents the single most dramatic shift in entire societal and business norms since the early 1980s. And according to these men we've listened to, this kind of a societal shift has really only happened 3 times: the Industrial Revolution, the advent of computerization, the advent of the internet, and now the advent of artificial intelligence. And when we see that 38% increase in sales is reported by those using, that tells us the challenge. If, if in fact, according to Sundar Pichai, AI is more profound than fire or electricity or anything we've done in the past, then that 38%, that's not really reflective of that, is it? that means it's not yet been harnessed. That means it's not yet been leveraged. 38%, that's not reflective of a new technology more profound than fire or electricity. You see, that's going to say 380%, and then it's going to say 3,800%, and then it's going to say 38,000%. A complete, total, absolute shift in the way that business and life is conducted. That's where we are. Now, the question is, do we allow this unbelievable shift, one of the most monumental shifts in any of our lives, do we allow that to simply happen as we observe it? Or do we take a lesson from the past and say, no, we will be a catalyst in causing that which is destined to occur just a bit more quickly, because so profound are the rewards. Lev AI, remember, that's a company. Lev AI, that's a company. Leveraging artificial intelligence to make it accessible to the masses. That is the concept that our company is engaged in. And Lev AI makes it simple for entrepreneurs to launch, market, and grow businesses. I talked a moment ago about the fact that I don't think that a 380 or 38% increase in productivity, that's certainly not reflective of something more profound than fire or electricity or anything we've experienced in the past, is it? No. And that implies that today, the challenges that are around AI, the challenges are limiting productivity in a dramatic way. And those challenges are multiple applications required to accomplish a group of services. It's not all under one umbrella, and these apps don't communicate one with another. And so we bring to the world a solution. Many problems, one solution. One of the problems that all small businesses face, I'm talking about solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, mom and pop shops, what do they all want? They have some uniquenesses, but they have a lot of similarities. They want more customers. They want greater revenue from each customer. They'd like to extend the life of that customer relationship to potentially permanent. Everything that they want is made simpler with Lev AI, and you'll understand that in just a few minutes as we conclude this conversation. Couple of bullet points down. It says, remove barriers that make you feel stuck. This is my experience as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, grower, and developer. I have not encountered people over the course of my career who have done that which is required to succeed, but done it poorly and therefore failed. What I have encountered, sadly, are countless people who have just not done that which is required to succeed. And so, if we can, through Lev AI, remove the barriers that cause people to feel stuck, and if we can find a way to remove the fear of failure, then suddenly good people, good people who deserve success, but people whose personality has not been the catalyst personality that draws others to them, such that they need to learn how to create candidates, they need to learn how to move towards the candidate, they need Lev AI. We can remove the fear of failure by helping people stop failing. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Bunch of problems and one solution. I talked about the advent of the computerization of the world, and I talked about the advent of the globalization of commerce through the internet. Another technological advance that I've lived through, and many of you did, was the development of social media networks, which have become so endemic in our society. Today, it's absolutely the fact that one can measure future results by measuring today's influence. And one can measure today's influence by measuring one's social media presence. And so, immediately upon beginning to use our solution, I believe that you'll be able to eliminate your current CRM or customer relationship management software. Why? Because included in the Lev AI solution is a very robust CRM that does everything yours does, and it does that for a fraction of the cost, and it does some very important things that yours does not. There came a time in my career when I realized that I was making a fundamental error. And the fundamental error was that I was constantly trying to persuade other people to do what I wanted them to do for my outcome. Now, that's obviously bad thinking, but it went on for a long time. And then suddenly one day I realized, no, Randy, it's not about convincing other people to do what you want them to do for your benefit. It's about finding out what others want to do and then helping them do that which they want to do at some personal or economic advantage. And if you, if I, if we are conduits to other people accomplishing that which they want to do, I promise you the bell will ring loudly in our behalf. Well, every single time that with a simple screenshot import, we add a new contact to our CRM, our customer relationship software, guess what will happen in Lev AI that doesn't happen now? Immediately, the Lev AI solution will begin scanning each contact and reviewing their social media presence and coming back and telling you what they want to know, why they want to know it, and when they want to know it. And then your personalized GPT will actually start the conversation. Huh? Personalized GPT? What's that about? Well, 700 million people logged into Chat GPT this week looking for answers, looking for solutions. They got good answers. They got good solutions. They didn't get great answers or solutions. Why? Because Chat GPT pulled from the internet all of that content, which by its definition is generalized. It is not specific to the need of the individual business or person. Lev AI will be quite different. Why? Because your GPT will be personalized, and now the content, the information that you receive will be specific to your business venture. And it will grant you the opportunity to help other people do what they want to do, helping them do what they want to do for their maximum advantage, and then allowing the side effect of that to be our advantage. That is the Lev AI way, and it is a better way. I state that so frequently people will have a net negative cost, in fact, less than zero cost to use our product. How? Well, because you're no longer going to have to pay for your current CRM. You're going to be able to eliminate multiple applications and subscriptions. And whatever you currently spend for website building and maintenance will be a no longer needed expense because you're able to do so instantly, literally in the click of a few buttons. Reminders to build your business. I said a moment ago, I've never met a single person who has done that which is required to succeed, but did it poorly and therefore failed. Never. In fact, what I've encountered instead are countless people who understand and know what they should do, but their confidence and belief in themselves, in the project, or in the process is not great enough. And so they simply don't act. It's not that they don't do it well, they just don't do it enough. Cicero said years ago that the skill to do comes from the doing. And so why don't they act? Well, I think there's a variety of reasons, but here's a common one. Most people start out as employees. We don't start as entrepreneurs. We start as an employee, and there we have boundaries. We are reactive to those boundaries. We know what time to come to work and what time we can go home. We know which reports to fill out and with whom we should report. We react to the demands of our position. And then we find out that perhaps the shoes are a little too tight. Entrepreneurs, they want to work when they want, where they want, with whom they want, and if they want. And entrepreneurs want to establish their own worth in the marketplace, not have an employer decide their worth. Well, I've never read a job description. I've never seen a job posting that said, hey, do you want to work when you want, where you want, with whom you want, and if you want? Do you want to establish your own salary? Great. We are waiting for you. See, I've never seen that. That's because that's not the way that employment works. That's the way entrepreneurship works. And so the great challenge is transitioning from the reactivity of employment to the proactivity of entrepreneurship. And I contemplate over the course of my career how great would have been the difference in outcome if literally every member who ever joined my business had had me or a similar leader literally at their side 24 hours a day for their first 100 days or for their first year, telling them in the morning, okay, now the pattern of activities implies that right now we should do this. Let's do it this way. Here's the script to use. Push send, and that will set the ball in motion. Over the course of a day, a series of reminders, literally as though your coach were in your hip pocket. That's what will begin to occur as soon as we roll this technology out in a couple of weeks. And the fact is that countless people who have been stuck will no longer be stuck. Since they're no longer stuck, then Cicero will be right again. The skill to do will come from the doing. As a result of increased skill, that will result in greater self confidence, more poise, a more correct self esteem. And suddenly that person has emerged as a leader, as the catalyst. When he or she walks into the room, others come towards them. That is what happens when one becomes. One becomes as a result of utilizing the technology. And then I think as an additional way, an exclamation point way to cover this ground between reactivity and proactivity, what if you had 25 or 100 people at the beginning of each month who wanted to hear what you have to say? They wanted to know about Lev AI. What if you were receiving 25 or 100 leads every month and they said, I would like to know and understand more about entrepreneurship. I'd like to know and understand more about the technology you're using. I'd like to understand and know more about your compensation mechanism. I'd like to know and understand more about you and how you can help me. Now, if we had that request, would it not be incredibly easier for almost anyone to say, I'm more than happy to provide you with that information? That is very different. And here I am with no contact. I've got to source the contact, identify it. Now it's my volition, not theirs. I am provoking the conversation instead of responding to a conversation provoked by another. This is of immeasurable worth if not one of those leads ever joins you, because here is the development process and the development program. There's a lot to this, folks, as you've seen already. But not surprisingly, there is even more. Why? Because this is more profound than fire or electricity or anything we've done in the past. That's true of artificial intelligence generally. How much more true that is of Lev AI specifically. And there is more. Every plan includes your own digital twin. You can give it a script or you can use your personalized GPT to create it. And unlike you or unlike me, your digital twin can speak fluently in 150 languages. Now, next week, maybe as soon as day after tomorrow, Blake will announce the formal opening date. It will be, in my opinion. Now, I'm not speaking as a company representative. I'm just talking to you about what I believe. I believe we go live between the 10th of September and the 15th of September. That's how close it is. When that happens, you'll be required to pay $19 for an annual fee, and you'll then select one of the two packages, the basic or the pro package. The basic package will have an expense of $49. The pro package will be $99. And what is included? And by the way, that then becomes an ongoing monthly subscription. What is included? Your AI video twin, your likeness, your voice, speaking your script flawlessly in 150 languages, and you can even use AI to generate your script. A personalized AI writing assistant, this the beginning of the process, which grows your social media presence. Business profiles, if you have more than one message to deliver, more than one profile would need to be available to deliver that message reflective of multiple businesses. That's available in the Pro Pack. AI-powered social growth and engagement, this giving you the opportunity to always be to be reactive to the wants and needs of your candidate instead of being forced into that proactivity, which is more difficult. When we get to react to their needs, that gradually gives us the opportunity to transition from an employee mindset into an entrepreneur mindset of immeasurable worth. CRM with screenshot, import, and profile enrichment, once again, granting us the opportunity to deliver the message that our candidate wants to hear, as opposed to trying to get the candidate to receive the message we would like to deliver. Instant Web Builder, we've talked about that. Enhanced CRM, professional lead funnels, granting every candidate, irrespective of where the candidate came from, granting each candidate the opportunity to be guided specifically and steadily through a pattern of activities that helps each one arrive at whatever conclusion is correct for him or her in the shortest possible period of time. And then over 2 billion searchable candidates. There truly is a lot to this. And now for those of you who really want this to be the exclamation point on your career and in your life, push yourself against the grinding wheel. Ask whoever invited you here what exactly it would take to live at the top of this compensation plan. Ask them to help you create a personal business plan to get you there in the shortest order. Those living at or near the top of the plan will have their own interactive AI avatar, their own interactive conversational digital twin, literally loaded with your entire life experience, loaded with the knowledge and background of your favorite thought leaders, loaded with so much dense content that it literally can converse. This is something that all by itself is worth 5 or 10 times what the total price of our offering is. The best of you in 150 languages. And I contemplate this simple thought over my career. I've been limited to being able to deliver my message to a very limited audience, the size audience in a room that I can be in, a limited audience who speaks my language and who is operating on my time zones. Now I am nearly giddy as I contemplate the fact that starting in about a week and a half from now, I, a superior version of me, something better than me, will be able to be in every city, nation, state, literally in everybody's home, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, delivering the content that has resulted in one of the most successful careers in the history of home-based business. That's been mine. And also content, not just about making money, but content designed to make your overall life experience better. Of course, it's better to live life in the absence of financial pressure, but there's a whole lot more to life than just that. The fully interactive conversant avatar digital twin allows your most important message to be received everywhere around the world all at once. Unmatched value, folks. I just indicated I believe that just that thought we just described, the idea of having a conversant digital twin, is worth 10 times what one pays for this subscription. But at the very outset, you'll receive reduced expenses. Why? Because you're going to be able to eliminate your current CRM and eliminate other applications. It'll cost less than zero to begin utilizing this. When I think of the market opportunity, it states here there's 70 million freelancers in the United States and 30 million non-employer businesses. Folks, it's so much more than that. In the world, there are now almost 8 billion people. What percentage of those people use computers? That's the percentage who are going to use AI. There are 8 billion people in the world, folks. What percentage of them go online periodically? That's the same percent who are going to use AI. The only question is whether or not you'll be a conduit to that utilization and whether or not you will earn royalties as a result. If you choose to become a conduit to other people's use, recognizing this, not one of us, not you, not me, no one has the option to simply opt out of AI any more than we had the option to opt out of computerization or to opt out of the internet. No, society will opt us in. The question is, will we become a conduit to other people's use? If we do, then every time someone that you introduce to the concept, they're going to use AI anyway. But when you are the introductory factor, when they acquire the package that's right for them, you'll get paid 50%. And please know that in this company's case, there is no smoke and mirrors. There's no such thing as a dollar comes into the company, but we're going to reduce that dollar by some artificial figure, PV, BV, CV. We're only going to put part of the dollar into the comp plan. No, if the dollar comes into the company, it goes into the comp plan. There are a few different personal situations that we will address. Nothing to say try to address, but that we will address. Perhaps you're an influencer. You've had your 15 minutes of fame and people know your name. An influencer has the capacity to cause a lot of people to buy a product or service because they believe and trust in the influencer. They want to be like the influencer in many cases. I have a friend who has more than 20 million Instagram followers. She started a movie alongside Tom Cruise, and she and her partner once won Dancing with the Stars. Millions and millions of people follow her. All of those people are going to use AI. If all of those people use AI as a result of her introduction, because she's an influencer, she will get paid 20% ongoing forever and a day for something they were going to do anyway. If you are an influencer, if you've had that day in the sun, this is a special thing for you. There are others of us, this is more like me. I've invested my adult career in the development of teams, large, successful organizations. And here we have a very simple 8 generation deep unilevel compensation plan, it's referred to, paying 20% on Gen 1 to meet the needs of those influencers I've described, and then 4% through 7 more generations. 4% of what? 4% of cash, not a BV, PV, and so on. Whenever an idea is red hot, if an idea is red hot, there will be countless people coming to it. And there will be way more people who need to be taught than there are people who are today eligible to teach them. And so there must be some mechanism that causes that leader to be willing to look indefinitely throughout the structure, not just limiting themselves to an 8 generation block of volume, looking as far as they have to look until they recreate themselves in the compensation plan. Whenever there's a mass movement of people, an infinity payout becomes requisite. Well, we're experiencing a mass movement of people, the very earliest moment of it. 22 days ago, I had our first conversation like this one, and there were 16 people invited to a Zoom, all of whom had to sign NDAs. Those 16 people, and 22 days later, have turned into now 16,000 applications to be the first to utilize this service. You see, when an idea is right, people move towards it quickly. We have now crossed over the 2,000 new application number per day. Each of the last 2 days, more than 2,000 new early adopters to what we're talking about. That number will continue to grow, it will expand, and it will turn into a literal blizzard of new member applications as soon as people are able to see the actual program working. We're only about 10 days away from that. The days between now and then are of immeasurable value, literally immeasurable value. And this will help you understand that value to some degree. I think the most important part of the comp plan, and they're all important, but the most important part of the comp plan is the leverage matching bonus. This is when you are being compensated as a result of other people's success. Whenever anyone in your first 4 generations of enrollment tree earns an acquisition bonus, you'll get a matching bonus. Whenever anyone earns a team commission, you'll get a team commission. Whenever anyone earns an infinity bonus, you'll get a matching bonus. The results of this will be absolutely overwhelming. We're not talking about 3 or 4 or 5% of the population who embrace any particular idea or concept at a point in time. No, we're talking about 8 billion people on planet Earth, 4% of which have already begun to adopt AI. That means 96% still are going to adopt, and it's not a question of whether they will. It will be mandated. It is being mandated as we speak. And so now the question for you, for me, for all of us is, are we ready to lead the AI future with Lev AI? And if so, then there are a few action items, a few things that we should be paying close attention to right now. Now, I'm going to call upon a couple of friends of mine. I'm going to call first upon Bev Dormer. The reason I'm going to call upon Bev Dormer is because, first of all, we've been hearing only from men. Until earlier today, I called upon one of my friends, Tammy, and I know that half of our crowd are women. And also, up until now, we have heard almost exclusively from people with deep, deep knowledge and historic success in the direct selling industry. Bev is more like perhaps most of you. She wants entrepreneurship. She's been preparing herself for this moment. Maybe not for 35 years, but I know Bev. She's been preparing herself for the last 2.5 years and is now experiencing something that I think is so encouraging. John C. Maxwell said that encouragement is oxygen for the soul. Breathe deeply. Well, I'm going to call upon my friend Bev and I'm going to ask her to turn on her video and her microphone and explain to people what she is experiencing thus far. Bev, chime in and tell us what's happening.
You bet, Randy. Thank you. So, I actually did get to experience entrepreneurship. I started a business 26 years ago. And when I got to COVID, watching all the big corporations and how much they were paying their people, I knew I needed some help. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try network marketing again and see if that would give me the extra to be able to afford to pay my people more money. And you know what? Crypto, so many things over the last basically 5 years and nothing, no traction. I spent a lot, I lost a lot. And I have to tell you, 18 days, this morning I woke up, I have 327 people on my team. That's the first time. I have had people on my team before, but most of them I paid for their packages. And so this has been something that every day I wake up and am excited about. You had mentioned about how, even as a business owner, I had thought I could do network marketing now, but still I was stuck. It's different. And to be able to have a twin, to be able to have information given to me, as well as being able to help other people, other small businesses with these tools that so often when you're a small business owner, you can't afford is something that thrills me.
It has been a joy for me. There's a lot of ways that we get paid. When people learn, grow, develop, and become, it's fun. And when we observe somebody else get the key in the lock, it's not just fun, it gives joy. And Bev, I'm so proud of you. And by the way, Bev has team members in Europe and she has team members in the United States. And I'm willing to bet that Bev's not been to Hungary in her life, but she's got a rapidly expanding business in Hungary. Folks, don't contemplate that which is likely. Who cares? Contemplate that which is possible and understand that a lot of things are possible today that were not possible just a few days ago. Because why? Because we get to leverage AI. Larry Lang, one of the great guys in this industry, is a good friend of mine. I respect him in so many ways. Larry, tell folks what's happening and why.
Hey, Randy, thank you so much. Bev, so good to see you and congratulations. And I'll say the same thing as Bev. I've got so many people on my team that are excited about Lev AI. I found out about this about 20 some days ago as well. And the team is over 12,000 people. So I would just say share this with everybody. It's very exciting. It's fresh. It's new. Everybody wants to know about AI. I tell my people, look, send out the little letter, send out, hey, get a free spot. You're going to learn more about AI. I'm really excited too when I talk to people on the team that people are going to be educated by this company on AI. They're going to be educated how to use it. They're going to be educated how to make it build their business, how to make money from it. But, for $49, others to be able to get that AI twin. And I always joke and say I've got an identical twin, and people say, oh, you build big businesses. And I always say, well, I can be in two places at once, but everybody's going to have a twin now. But that means there's going to be four of me. So I'm going to be unstoppable. I can't even think about it. But no, it's just really, I know right now I've got teams sitting in Vietnam. They're watching the webinar, South Africa, Australia, India. They're all over the world. Share this with everybody. Plus, you never know who knows somebody else that might be in Japan or might have a team, you know, in Australia. So this is just going to be a lot of fun. I know Terry LaCour personally for many, many years. I know for him to throw his hat in the ring, this is going to be an amazing company. For us to be in at the very beginning of that is absolutely huge, but don't waste that first mover's advantage. Randy just said there's 2,000 people a day coming in. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the circle that you know is going to be, they're going to be going with somebody else. So you need to be reaching out to everybody, at least drip on them and say, look, if you hear about Lev AI and you hear about it from 50 people this week, you better come back and sign up with me. I tell people that all the time. Write down Lev AI and say, Larry Lane told me first, and know when you hear about it the next 100 times, come back to me. So I tell them that so they know how hot it is, but that works. So, but yeah, Randy, I'm excited. I'm so excited to be here. I needed this. So many people need this right now. Coming into the holidays, they're looking for money, but this is going to be one to definitely hang your hat on. So Randy, back to you, buddy.
Larry, thank you. And by the way, I needed this too. I needed it in a variety of ways. It doesn't make me happy to look back over my shoulder and see my greatest success 20 years ago. It doesn't. And I needed it too. The last 24 months, the last 36 months, the industry I've been in has gone through change. Change is not always easy. And it took clear until now to find a way to make the change the industry has gone in be a beneficial change for me and for you. Folks, don't let even a moment of this slip through your fingers. If you're not yet a part of this organization, please ask whomever invited you here for the registration link. And please also ask, no cost associated with that right now until the company goes live in a couple of weeks. Also, please note that I would like you to ask for the WhatsApp link so you can receive our communications. And tomorrow at noon Eastern time and tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time, we'll do this again. And then the following day, Saturday, Blake, the president of the company, will give the next corporate update. Please be there. You're going to hear information that is pertinent to the immediacy of our opening and the possibilities before us all. Everybody, whether or not you know you can do this, I know you can. Why? Because the kind and loving God graced you with the talents necessary to succeed. The question is this: are each of us willing to work and work and work and work to refine those talents into skills that become beneficial to others? To the extent that we do, then the laws of the universe will conspire on our behalf. Everybody, have the best night yet. I think you're all heroes. Larry, thank you. Bev, thank you. You're the biggest hero of the
Thank you.
night. We'll see y'all soon. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.